bearded man here. Hi. How would you best go about making a fabrication of a holy relic completely made up? How would you do it? How would you go about it? Would you just say, "Hey, look, everyone, this is a thing that's a holy relic. This, and it's legit. Look, we hung it up at this church. Wow, everyone sees it. Oh my goodness, it's really that thing." And that's it. No study, no anything done. Just you show it to people and say it's real. Or would you invite testing to be done by all the scientists everywhere, open testing on this thing? Let's go with the first one. Yeah. Okay. Then this piece of fabric that you've made up that you're pretending is, holy and sacred, it almost gets burned, it gets stolen, gets passed around, whatever, gets lost and then found again, yada, yada, yada. And then the Catholic Church gets a hold of it and says, "Yeah, well, we're gonna take charge of this," and they keep it. So, would you allow scientists around the world to test this to make sure it's authentic, or B, only allow certain scientific teams access to limited amounts of this shroud as you see fit, when you see fit? By appointment only and only by your permission. Let's go with that one. Yes, because we want to make sure that everybody has no access to this at all because we totally are sure that it's legitimate. Well, we're not going to ever say if it is or isn't legitimate, by the way. But we are going to totally hang on to this forever and never let anyone study it that we don't want to. So the Shroud of Turin, this stupid thing, has come and gone in popularity, and it's made a comeback. And I was like, why is this back? Why do people care? Well, it's Joe Rogan's fault. Yeah, go figure. Joe Rogan talked to Mel, that Mel guy that made that movie about Jesus, that dude. And so then interest was back on the shroud, and so they did a radiometric X-ray study on the thing. Oh wow! And then, by the way, no, it's dated to exactly the time of Jesus. Yeah, sure. The team that did this, same team that's always been allowed by the Catholic Church to do the tests on this thing. Did any other team do it? No. Now, the other thing is, when testing was done decently on this, like people were like, "Nah, it's forgery. It's just a painting." No. And then other people were like, "No, it's not a painting. It's real." And this and that. And the one guy's like, "Look, it's just a painting. The end." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what it is. It's a painting somebody painted. It's not legitimate. It's not real. It's not of anybody. This hasn't, this is the only burial cloth that has an image of a person ever. Like, because this doesn't happen. How would it happen, naturally speaking? Well, because it's a supernatural event. Because when Jesus came back to life, he imprinted his image on this cloth somehow. The original testing of the so-called bloodstains, it's like, it's paint. But now some things are saying, researchers have said it's blood. And I love when articles do this, because there's no way to find out who the hell they're talking about. So the Shroud of Turin got popular again, and people have been making a big deal of it. Oh, this proves Jesus. This proves Jesus. It doesn't. And the fact of the matter is, there's, I think, a total of 3 scientific teams, and I don't even know if we should call them scientific teams, that are allowed access to limited amounts of fabric from the shroud, or the whole shroud at once, or just pictures of the shroud. And so you can't do much with it. But these one guys supposedly did this type of X-ray thing that supposedly dates it back to 2,000 years ago. And yet the other dating has shown it to be much earlier than that. And I don't believe it. I just don't buy it. Wikipedia, of course, has a ton on the Shroud, and there's a whole website on the Shroud. There's tons of books on this damn thing. But here's one thing I want to complain about. Here's the New York Post, and talks about this. And here's the problem I have with these articles: is zero citations. Okay. There's controversy. There's a link for that, but it's just another thing. It's just another article. A university published a study. This actually links to a study that focused on bloodstains and scourge marking, blah, 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 blah. And that's that one, one group. One group was allowed to study this. And this guy, by the way, has consistently cited with that it's a real thing. So, yeah, press F to doubt. He's dedicated a quarter century to his research. Wow. So this is all you've ever done is this? And then, other experts, no names. So who are these experts? We don't know. Just other ones. How many are there? Who knows? Call it a work of crucifixion. That's funny. And but we need to know who is saying what and when and where. So this doesn't tell us enough. Talks about the history a little bit. And 2008 study also supports the forgery claims. Yeah, it's a forgery. Of course it is. It's not real. It's a painting somebody did way a long time ago. And people make a big deal out of it because they think it's real. And they want it to be real. And the Catholic Church isn't going to let anyone study it because they don't want people to find out that it's not real. They'll only let people study it that will agree with them. Anyways, this 2022 study took X-rays, and this has been been put out there. This Italian scientist proved it matches fabric from this area 20 years ago, 20 years after Christ's presumed death. So it's too late in the game to be for Jesus, but it's at least it's within the 2,000-year-old frame. So even though it's this other fabric is related to it, that was 20 years afterwards. But is this fabric 20 years too late, or is it on time? But who knows? And until more is realized, this mystery of faith is our cross to bear. No, there's no mystery here. It's a fake. And they only let certain people look at this thing in any detail with any examination. And no citations for who you're talking about, what researchers, what studies, very little is given. And then here's a different one that talks about this Jerusalem Post. Now here it says, when researchers tested the blood stain on the shroud, they found it was human blood for male, consistent with telltale signs of scourging and crucifixion recorded in the Gospels. What researchers? I can't find what they're talking about. There's no anything on this article. There's no anything on the internet about who you're talking about. So this is the problem, is the quote unquote news outlets, blogs like this, whatever, don't give you enough to actually research it. So be skeptical of this thing. It's old. It's like 13th century, whatever, 1300s, whatever it was, when it was first like found or whatever. Like it was just put up in some church. And what was it? Let's see. Let me go up on the Wikipedia here. Yeah, 1354. So it was exhibited in a. Here, this is Wikipedia saying all this. So it could be wrong, but so about in 1354 it was exhibited in a college church of wherever, and so they just put it up. Hey, look at this thing, it's Jesus. And people, of course, they believed it. So did they immediately take, even back then, whatever science that they had available, did they get it tested? No, of course not. Why would they? They believed that it was real. But it was denounced as a forgery by a bishop. Then it was acquired by somebody else, and it was deposited. Then it was, damaged by a fire. Then it was moved. Then now it's just kept in this one location. Okay, and in the chapel, the Holy Shroud, and it's only been allowed to be accessed by a limited amount of people when the Catholic Church feels like it. And I'm sure there's all sorts of hoops to jump through. And it's basically a team of three different teams have been allowed access to this route over and over again. It's the same people every time, basically. So yeah, if this was real, if it was legitimate, why wouldn't you would want it proven? You would want this thing tested. Now I understand it's one of a kind, okay? So you don't want it destroyed, but the testing places know that. They're not going to destroy this thing. But let scientists come and test it. Actually test it. They've taken tape and they put tape on it and examined the tape and all these things that they're doing, because they're, want to be very careful. Okay, yeah, I'm sure there's better techniques to use, whatever. But let the scientists come and let them test it and let them get decent amounts of samples to do different radiometric dating on it. Let them, analyze it with whatever machinery. There's all sorts of ways to do it that won't ruin it. But let's just say that you gathered, teams from around the world to come and, examine it. And in their examination, they wind up destroying it. But they find out that it is legitimate. That's still amazing. That's still something. So even though the thing is destroyed, at least you know that it was real. Or on the flip side, they find out it's not real because it's just a painting that somebody did on a piece of cloth and said it was legit. And then that's the end of it. But there's a vested interest in keeping this thing holy and sacred and magical. That's why you protect it from the public view. It's only put up for people to see every now and again when they feel like doing it. It's only allowed access to actually touch any of it by the Catholic Church. So, if you think you or I could ever go and touch this thing, forget about it, or cut a little piece of it to go get it tested and see how old it is or whatever. The first like I said, there's all sorts of different things. Is this guy said it was fake and said it's pigment. And I'm like, yeah, that I agree. And they're like, no, that guy, no, he got it wrong. And then they quickly said, okay, now we're not going to let anyone but the people we want to test it. We're never going to let outsiders test it. We're going to let people that are devoted to the faith that we know are going to say what we want them to say. Now, the church has not taken an official stance on this ever. That's been the mantra of the Catholic Church, is to say this is the Shroud of Turin. It's very, it's very interesting, and it's something to think about. And that's it. They never say if it's legit or not. They have never said if it's legit or not. But they do maintain strict control over it. So there's every single reason to be skeptical of it and zero reason to think that it's legitimate unless you're a believer, in which case you will take anything and everything said at face value. And these articles about it don't help the matter because they don't let people do proper research. So I blame, the media, quote unquote, well, whoever blogs or whatever you want to call these, whether it's it's an online newspaper or it's a blog that somebody wrote, or if it's the Shroud website itself, which is just about the Shroud. So of course they're going to only tell you positive stuff, right? I mean, they have a vested interest in doing that. Maybe they'll have some negative stuff too, but there's been books upon books upon books written about it. How many scientific papers have been written about it? A few, yeah. And can you duplicate those examinations? No, because you're not allowed access to the Shroud. So the amount of actual investigation you can do is extraordinarily limited in scope. But if you're a believer, you'll just accept at face value that somebody with a name you can't pronounce did this x-ray and confirmed it was at least 2,000 years old, even though that goes against all the other testing that's been done on this that says it's not that old. Because you want to believe. Because you need to believe. Because you need anything to say that this is real. And your bias works against you. But if it was... if you had in your possession an artifact, let's say you thought you found the Ark of the Covenant. Well, first, you open it and you let people look. And if they die, then you know it's the real thing. Keep your eyes closed. I'm not sure how long you're supposed to keep your eyes closed. That was the one problem in the Raiders of the Lost Ark is how does Indy know when to close his eyes? Like, he's like, hey, keep your eyes closed. I'm like, okay, cool. All the Germans are dead. But how do you know they're dead? Like, how do you know that the thing is sealed again? Like, they stopped hearing screams. It's like, I'm going to assume it's safe to open our eyes now. And then, like, why would God destroy the good people, too? And anyways, whatever. It's a movie, I know, but, But let's just say that you thought you found that. The thing to do to prove it to the world would be to allow it to be tested by every scientist everywhere at all times forever. And let them fight it out in science. It wouldn't be to lock and key it away where nobody can see it or explore it or look at it. But every time anything religious is quote unquote found, it is locked away and hidden so that you can't examine it, that you can't test it, you can't verify it, you can't do anything with it. And in this case, there's a little bit of science, but I am so skeptical of the science here because it's a couple of teams. I think it's 2 or 3 different teams. And they're the same, basically the same teams are always in the favor of the Catholic Church, or, well, not in the Catholic Church, but always in the favor of it being legitimate rather than, any other findings. So it's a painting. There's zero, and then some articles say, well, it's never been reproduced, as if that matters. Like, why would we need to reproduce this thing? That's always kind of one of those weird things. It's like, nobody can make a thing exactly like this. I don't know. I think we could. It's just, maybe nobody's really tried hard enough. They say that no one's been able to do it, but what does that mean? I don't know how many people have tried to do it. Like, who is interested in doing that in the first place? How many people have tried, and when did they fail? That's important. Because if nobody's trying to do it, then yeah, it's an empty thing to say that nobody has copied it. And there was, somebody offered a large amount of money at one point to say, if you use all the materials they would have had back in this day to do it. Well, let's at least do it back to the earliest that we know it, back in 1,300. Their tools and techniques that they had available to them. Okay, fine. But no, they wanted you to use techniques and tools from 2,000 years ago. I'm like, it's a bit, come on, man, let them use at least the 1300 tools, But even if, and I don't know how many people entered that contest. We don't know, how they were judged, and it's just a big giant ball of nothing. And it just persists. And I'm seeing more videos on it lately on YouTube. That you put in proof of God, and because it became mentioned, it got into the zeitgeist, and once it's in the zeitgeist, then it's there, and there you go. Let's see if I can find some. Hello, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, these little clickbait thingies. Let's see if we can see the shroud. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Because I was seeing it before, but maybe now it's not going to show up just to make me look stupid. Or it might be how you search also affects that. None of these are just so unconvincing. But no. And see, now it's just okay. Now this no, how do you spell the damn shroud? Anyways, whatever. I doesn't matter. Okay. Maybe it was the wrong search, or maybe it was just I was seeming to see it more often. But I just interacted with the person that brought up the shroud, and it's like the second or third time that's been brought up lately. At least my brain thinks so. But who knows? That's the frequency pattern illusion that can happen, probably. There is money to be made on this thing. There is, you could claim all sorts of stuff about it, and nobody will be able to verify it at all. Hey, look, I did this. I examined it with an X-ray device. Okay, I guess we believe you, because how do we know that you actually did that? Like, you could say anything. You could just say that you did it, and the Catholic Church gave me access to do it. How do we know that he did? That's the problem. We don't. I don't trust them. I have no reason to trust them. So it's be skeptical, but the believers take it and they run. When I was a believer, the shroud was actually something that kind of popped up on my radar, and I never heard about it as a believer. It wasn't talked about in any church I've ever been to. Only as a thing that I've ever encountered on the internet. So I'm not sure, how wide scale its popularity is in the normal churches. But at any rate, so I didn't know anything about it as a believer. And when I was a believer, I was like, I don't really think that this is legitimate. I didn't really buy into it at the time. And I just kind of left it alone and ignored it, and went about other things. But I wasn't really interested enough to investigate deeply. This time I actually read the Wikipedia on it. I found some articles I showed you guys. That's linked in the descriptions. There's more about it. There's tons about this dang thing. But my point is, there's only like one person / team of people that supposedly looked at it and said, oh yeah, it happens to be the date that we needed to be at. And I'm like, yeah, right. When the other studies haven't shown that, and there's debate about how old it is. I'm like, it's just a painting somebody did, and they pretended it was a Jesus. The end. And then of course there's always this problem of how weird and wacky this God is, in that if you step back and go, why would God reveal itself to a limited number of people for a limited number of time in a tiny part of the world, once, never again. Leave behind minimal evidence. Leave behind evidence that can get burned because the shroud was almost burned. And yet, why not leave us all the evidence we could ever want? Why not just stick around instead of beaming back up into heaven? Why not Jesus just stick around and keep teaching for indefinitely and be an immortal among us? And why not? Why couldn't we interview him? And why wouldn't there be the Jesus podcast? Come and get your healing. Call in and he heal you. You don't even need to call in. Why remain so well hidden that we mistake God for a myth? And it takes a giant leap of many mental gymnastics to make any sense of that at all. But even though you can't make sense of it, that doesn't make it false. But it's just one of those baffling things to me. It's just like, yeah, okay, so God let this shroud be around, but he won't give us more proof. Why not? Why give us so little proof? And why let the Catholic Church control it, and rather than let us all study it so we can know for sure if it's legit? Because somebody can make it up, and they did. So anyways, that's the Shroud of Turin. Still fake as bleep. It will never be real because it never was real. And if any legitimate study ever is done on this, it will find it to be the forgery that it is, but they'll never allow it to be studied properly because they're the Catholic Church. The only way that this ever would be properly tested would be somebody somehow steals the damn thing and gets it to, laboratories to properly study it. But I wouldn't advise doing that because definitely go to jail. Probably go to super mega Catholic jail or something because the Vatican is very powerful. So don't do that. But I think that's the only way that it would actually get studied for real. The body must have been only 2 inches thick if we believe the image on the shroud. Yeah, there's that problem too. There's all sorts of problems with the thing of how the image would have gotten superimposed onto it is also a non-scientific thing. There's no that doesn't happen. So they have to say, well, it's a miracle. And so it's like, well, that's not testable, So, it's just, and then the image, when you look at it, go, oh, look, it kind of looks like a face. If you look at it, not the original picture, but you look at the negative, it kind of looks like a face. I'm like, yeah, that's interesting because wouldn't it be draped around a 3D head, not a 2D face? So wouldn't it look different? Like, wouldn't it look stretched out and not look like a face? Like, if it was legitimately draped around somebody's face, right? Your face is 3-dimensional. It's not 2D. So, like, has anyone tried to 3D model? Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm gonna get my brother to do that. Let's see what that face would look like. But anyways, it's just no. It's a nothing burger. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Short deep dive. This is a step in the water with your toe. There's too much to cover on this damn thing because it's been around for so long. There's way too much to debunk at this point. It's just like, look, your burden to prove it's on you guys. You're never going to prove it because you're never going to let it be tested accurately by actual legitimate scientists. You're always going to use the people that want to agree with you. So I don't believe you. End of story. Until next time, be skeptical, and after that, stay skeptical.